come into the land, and God, I hope it's okay, I'm not wearing a jacket because I'm a little warm. But talking about what happens when they get into the land, it's very repetitive. I'll be honest with you. It's very similar to Torah portions we've heard in the past. But we will do the best we can. Page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Die, 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 die. Die, 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 Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchen l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, we are going to light Shabbat candles. If all the ladies will assemble over there. Okay, and we have matches? Yes, very good. Please rise. Wave our hands, bringing Shabbat, cover our eyes, and the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu, le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, b'mitzvotav. V'tzivanu lahadlik ner, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Thank you, ladies. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Be seated. Page 14. Idi nefesh avarachaman mishohavdach eritzona yarutz avdach kimo Ishtachaveh mul hadara gerav lo yedidutach inofetu nechotam. Let's do it in English. Soulmate loving God, compassion's gentle source, take my disposition and shape it to your will. Like a darting deer, will I rush to you, before your glorious presence, humbly will I bow. Let your
was no other dainty, will my hunger still. I die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Yada die 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 die, yada die 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 die. Page 15. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu lechu ranina Adonai. Lechu neranina, nari alitzu yishenu. Nekad mafana b'toda, Hizirot narialo, Ki el gadol Adonai, Umelech gadol al kol Elohim. Let's read responsively the last three stanzas. Harden not your heart in the way of your ancestors who tried and tested me in the wilderness, even though they had witnessed my miracles. Together, 40 years of contending with that generation led me to say, they are wayward, they care not for my ways. In indignation, therefore, did I vow, never would they reach my land, the land of peace, the land of rest. And the last three lines. Arba'im shana kut b'dor, ha'omaram to'e levavheim, ve'im lo yadu drachai, asher nishbati v'api, im yevon el menuchati. Continuing now on page 18. Mizmor shir lanai shir chadash, ki niflahot asa, Hoshia lo yamino, uzuro kadisho. If you are traditional in outlook and you believe that David wrote all of the Psalms, 150 Psalms written by David when he wasn't cavorting with Bathsheba or leading the Israelite troops into battle against the Philistines, okay. But yes, Paul.
Well, he was in the room.
Who was?
David
was in the room
when they wrote this.
Oh, yes. Well, the fact is, you're right in the sense that katav, which is usually translated as
edited.
Yes, it could be wrote, it could be edited, it could be completed, it could be appended, it could be wrote an annotation for, and so on and so forth. Hebrew is very loose that way. Okay, but you've got two beginnings, not in this particular psalm, but other psalms. Mizmor LeDavid or LeDavid Mizmor. LeDavid Mizmor means to David there was a psalm, meaning that he had inspiration, he was saddling his horse, he probably rode a donkey, and anything else, and then all of a sudden he had a piece of inspiration and he had to write it down. That's LeDavid Mizmor, to David a psalm. Mizmor LeDavid, a psalm to David, on the other hand, means that he sat down with the express and single purpose of creating, and he got lucky. He was able to write a psalm. So it does say something about poetic inspiration or writing inspiration of any kind, where you could be going about your business and all of a sudden you have an idea. And it's sad. There was a poet who, I think it was Carl Hurwitz, who said, while he was shaving, he had an idea for a poem. He should have written it down. He should have scribbled it in soap suds on the mirror of the bathroom, but he left it alone, and now it's gone. It went down the drain with all the other ideas he had, which he didn't take advantage of. So if you feel like writing that poem, you just go right ahead. Who writes poetry? Yes. Okay. Very good. Page 18. Shihiru lanai shir chadash ki nefahot asa, Hoshia lo yamino uzroa kadisho. Let's do the last three stanzas responsibly. Let the sea roar and all its creatures, the world and its many inhabitants. Together, let the rivers applaud in exaltation. Let the mountains all echo earth's joyous song. Adonai is coming to rule the earth, to sustain the world with kindness, to judge its people with fairness. V'hifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel v'tzedek, v'yamim b'meisharim. The L'chadodi, page 21. L'chadodi l'krat kala, v'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi l'krat kala, v'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el miuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'letila. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, l'krat kala, v'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha, dodi, l'krat kala, V'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'krat Shabbat l'chuvenelcha, ki mekor ha'veracha, merosh miketem nisucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, l'krat kala, V'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi l'krat kala, V'nei Shabbat nikabela. All right, please rise, page 22. We face the door through which the Sabbath Queen will enter. Ohi v'shalom ha'teret ba'ala, Am b'simcha u'tzara, Tov emunei am segula, Bo'ichala, bo'ichala. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, l'krat kala, V'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha, dodi, l'krat kala, V'nei Shabbat nikabela. Please be seated. Page 23. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. And the last four lines. Tzadika tamar yifra, ki eretz malevado yizkeh, shetulim b'beit Adonai, b'chatzrot Eloheinu Yafriku. O Yehuvun Tiseva, Tishenim Irananim, Yehu Le'agi, Ki Ashar Adonai, Zuri Velo Alatavo. All right, we can put the prayer books aside. Talking about the Torah portion for this week, which is Kitavo, meaning when you come into the land. Our Christian neighbors refer to the Bible with chapters and verses. We have the same chapters and verses. They were not invented by Jews. They were invented by an anonymous Catholic monk during the Middle Ages. And what is significant about the Torah is our Torahs have spaces between the words. It would not be uncommon in those days for there to be no spaces in between the words. So you really had to do some hunting in order to chant it. But in this instance, Moses continues his discourses. For an old guy, he's in pretty good shape. 120 is the age he'll live on until. That was a very bad sentence. Don't ever end with a preposition. Yeah, but anyway, he still has a lot of moxie. He really does. Joshua is going to take over when Moses is no longer in the picture. And God says to Moses, I'm going to bury you myself amid the mountains of Moab, and I don't want the people to know where you're buried because they'll take your kever, that is your tomb, and make it into a shrine. It is very true that Israel is loaded with shrines. Marat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, where everybody who's anybody is buried. That's Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, everybody from the Jacob family, including Leah, but not Rachel. Rachel dies on the road, and she has her own tomb of stone's throw down the road. And it's a tradition for women who have birth problems, who have infertility problems, to go and pray at her tomb. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but they had the custom of wrapping a red bendel, an enormous red ribbon around it. Okay, not like Rockefeller Center on Christmas, but kind of mournful. Also, it was in Israel that I discovered that there are rabbis who are so great and so skillful and so wise that even after they're dead, they're still working, because it's not unusual, and they do that in this country too. You'll leave a note on the grave of a great rabbi. I know that the Chabad do this with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, because he's got, yes.
Is that Rabbi Shearson?
Yes, that's correct, yes. Yes.
How can they leave a note on his grave if he's not
This is not my tradition, but when we were in Israel and we had a request, and we happened to be in Tiberia and Tiberias, there was this little shrunk, and he was very nice, he was very lively, little sunburned, little suntanned man. I think he was a Yemenite, and he was the caretaker for the cemetery. You're talking about a cemetery where the sarcophagi are set right into the mountain, because mausoleums are a gray area in Judaism, but the rabbis ruled that as long as most of them is in the earth, it's permissible. So I asked this caretaker gentleman, we're interested in leaving, speaking to a rabbi. Well, there aren't any living rabbis over there. So he referred us to one of these rabbis who was such a crackerjack that even deceased, he's still hard at work. Tugging on God's sleeve and leaving him notes and all that stuff.
Ravner Balanese, I think, is the one in.
Yeah, Mayor Collins. Yeah, he's the master of the miracle.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, and there's also the kever of Yosef, tomb of Joseph. It's not, you will not find Maimonides' grave there. I think he's in Egypt someplace. And there are any number of them in different places. We know, of course, it kind of got quiet around the time of COVID, but a lot of Hasidim like to visit the grave of the Rebbe of Uman. Okay, that's is that Nachman of Breslov? No, it's not Breslov.
Yes, it is.
It is Nachman.
Nachman
It's
of
Rebbe
Breslov,
Nachman.
yes, they go to Uman in Ukraine for.
Yes, they prostrate themselves on the
Yes,
grave.
they go on Rosh Hashanah.
Yes, and it became a whole festival. They had kosher food booths, they had food trucks, all of that stuff. Yes, this is the one you knew, Jeffrey.
Yes,
Rebbe
Neil's son-in-law goes every year.
Yes. Okay, well, anyway, how are the Israelites going to sustain themselves? They are also going from being shepherds to being farmers. Who's higher on the scale of civilization, farmers or shepherds?
Farmers.
Farmers.
Exactly. Farmers have to be stationary. They can't go wandering around. If you are a shepherd, you take your goats, your sheep, your cattle, your camels, and you have to feed them. And goats are very efficient. Goats over the years turned the Fertile Crescent into a desert. That's why it is no longer the Fertile Crescent. It's the extremely cut down, lack of grass crescent. And
Because the goats weren't there, is that why?
because the goats eat everything green. And if you don't want to mow your lawn anymore, yes. so-
They eat it right down to the roots.
To the roots, exactly. And it's not really healthy for the grass. Yes. Of course, everything I know about farmers and shepherds, I got from Oklahoma. Oh, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. Yes, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. One man likes to push a plow, another likes to chase a cow. That's no reason why they can't be friends. They can't be friends because the farmer's going to put up barbed wire and the shepherd or the cowboy is going to want to cut it down. So, yes, Paul, which were you? Were you a farmer or a cowman?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Farmers have to be more concerned about property rights.
yes, right. Yes. Okay, in those days, they had a very scientific way of telling whose property was whose. You would walk the bounds. You and your neighbor from whom you were buying or to whom you were selling the land, you would walk the boundaries, but they don't do that anymore. Okay, now we have these men in the neon vests who stand there with the pole. Okay, I'd be the one standing there with the pole. I couldn't do anything otherwise. Okay, go 3 blocks over. Anyway, what do you do with the first fruits of the harvest? You take it to the Holy Temple or the shrine or whatever area has been deemed holy. Okay, and there was a period during Solomon's rule where they said the neighborhood shrine is no longer sufficient. If you wish to make an offering to the Lord God Almighty, bring it to Jerusalem and we will accommodate you. It must have been, I wrote my rabbinical thesis partly about that. It must have been very traumatic for them. After all, when my baby was born, we brought it to the shrine. When my kid was bar mitzvah, they probably didn't have bar mitzvah yet, and so on. But it led to a great deal of difficulty for the Israelites. Yes, we're local people. Okay, tithes. What's a tithe? What percentage of the produce?
10%.
10%. Very good. Okay, and that would go to the Kohanim. You see, Paul, all the celery you could ever want. and shallots. What are shallots?
They're, I think, like an onion and a garlic kind of
Oh,
mixture.
okay.
Little just could bring his pineapples.
Yes, 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 indeed. And of course, the Israelis are in the front of the world in terms of agriculture. They grow tomatoes in plastic bags, hydroponics, another area I know nothing
They
about.
do the same with bananas.
They grow bananas in plastic bags.
When it blossoms, they
Mhm.
put a big, like a garbage bag over it. And that way they don't need to use insecticides.
Really?
Keep the animals from eating.
Right.
Yeah. So when I go to the supermarket to buy my bananas, I shouldn't have to put them in a plastic bag. They came out of the plastic.
I don't think they're Israeli.
Okay. All right. Okay, next. Now, this is kind of sad because what happens is God says, if you're going to follow me, if you're going to do the mitzvot, if you're going to be charitable, if you're going to bring a hardworking Kohen his tithe, everything will be hunky-dory and ginger peachy. But I know, says God, that you're going to fall away. You're going to be going to this foreign country. We can call it Israel, but it's loaded with heathen tribes. We talked about them last week. Give me some heathen tribes names.
The Hittites.
The Hittites. The Jebusites, the Girgashites, yes. Malcolm is always interested to say that. Okay, and they're a bad influence because the Jews are getting all together and going to the shrine to have a Friday night service. And there go the Moabites and the Ammonites and the other ites. And they're saying, come on, we're having an orgy. You see, orgies are much easier to furnish than services. You don't need cake, you don't even need clothes. You just go and get friendly with your neighbor. Okay, so God is concerned about that. He says, because if you do that, if you do the wrong thing, I will punish you. I will send other nations to conquer you. It's going to be really, really, really bad. And traditionally, who gets called up to that particular Torah portion? The rabbi, the big rabbi, or the little shmendriki shamus?
Would that be like Sodom and Gomorrah?
Well, you see, the Sodomites, they didn't practice achnas asorchim. They didn't welcome guests. All those other shenanigans kind of get looked over. But this is just, Israelites doing the wrong thing. Yes. Yes.
I'm curious about something. Was it if God said that if you go into this land, there are these other bad folks and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. But didn't God create them as well?
Yes, but they don't have this universalist viewpoint, such as that. They're very tribal. God is not the God of the universe until you get to Isaiah. At this point, he's the tribal God. When the Israelites go into battle against the Philistines, they're fighting against Dagon, who is the Philistine God. You see, it was sloppy, but it worked.
Oh.
Yes, thank you for the question. Anybody else? Okay, so the truth is that in years gone by, they would order that the shamus, the lowest of the low, he would go around and collect the tzedakah money if it wasn't Shabbos. He would hold the door for people. He really was not a respected individual. And he was told in his contract, he had a contract that said, among other things, he had to do this particular aliyah because it's such a major kinahara. What's a kinahara?
The evil eye.
An evil eye. Yes, yes. So that was his job. And the Balkore would read it very softly. There's a story about the Klausner Rebbe. This story is told by Rabbi Shlomo or Stephen Riskin, who was raised in a secular sort of family until he decided to get religion. And he used to daven at the different, this was in Williamsburg, he used to daven at the different shuls in the neighborhood. And a couple times he went to the Klausner Rebbe. And the Klausner was a remarkable survivor. He had lost his dozen children in the Holocaust. He had lost his wife, but he was too busy, and he never sat shiva for them. I'm just saying what I read in the story, because he was too busy saving everybody else. He saved his Hasidim. He wound up in Israel. While living in Israel, he established a Laniado Hospital, for example, and a lot of yeshivas. Then he came to Williamsburg. And what happens is that particular Shabbos, the Baal Koreh, the one who's reading, is doing the Tochacha. He's doing the warning, and he's doing it in a soft voice. Because Al tiftach pe l'satan, you don't open your mouth to Satan, you don't go looking for trouble. And all of a sudden, while he's very softly, the Rebbe, Klausner Rebbe, claps on the table, and he goes, Hecha, Hecha, which means louder, louder. And the Baal Koreh is confused because that's not the minhag, that's not the custom. So he goes back to saying it softly, and the Rebbe goes once again, Hecha, Hecha. And the Rebbe's reasoning was this: we lived through the worst catastrophe in Jewish history, and we lost thousands and thousands of people, millions. And now we have Israel. Now we are safe in America, and we shouldn't say this softly anymore. We should say it the way it's written. So that was the story. That was, and Rab Shlomo Riskin, Orthodox rabbi, he made Aliyah. He was the rabbi at the Lincoln Square Synagogue, where I've never been, which was a big deal, Orthodox shul. And when he made Aliyah, he was hoping all of his people would come with him. They didn't, but he still had a good garin. He had the nut, the essence of a group. And that was a settlement on the West Bank back in the 70s. I think they're still in business. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Any questions, any comments? All right.
Question.
Please rise, and we'll open the ark. We'll ask Esther, and I'm sorry, what is your name?
Oh,
Paula?
yeah.
Okay, Esther and Paula, could you honor us by opening the ark? Open the door.
Thanks.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, don't go away. We can do the work. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam Amen. Amen. Okay, Yashikoah. Yes. Yashikoah. All right, you may be seated. You may have noticed last night we had a lovely, lovely harvest moon.
Yes.
Big orb of the moon. And we're going to read on the lower left the reading for planets. responsively. Light and darkness, night and day, we marvel at the mystery of stars. Together, moon and sky, sand and sea, we marvel at the mystery of sun. Twilight, high noon, dusk and dawn. Though we are mortal, we are creation's crown. Flesh and bone, steel and stone, we dwell in fragile temporary shelters. Grant steadfast love, compassion, grace. Sustain us, God, our origin is dust. Majesty, mercy, love endure. We are but little lower than the angels. Resplendent skies, sunset, sunrise. The grandeur of creation lifts our lives. Evening darkness, morning dawn. Renew our lives as you renew all time. Amen. Okay, page 30 is the Shema. We cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Uncover the eyes. Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Moed. Let's read on the left-hand side in the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. These words which I command you this day, you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. Let's continue, please. With the Milchamocha on page 32, it's transliterated on the left. Zeli Arubi Amru, Ifatadonai Yaakov, Ugialo Miad Chazak Mimenu, Baruch Atadonai Yisrael. On the top left of 33, we have the prayer for the Cholim, the folks who are not well. And I'm reading the list now. We all pray very hard for Lauren Lobel, Emily Alter, Refuah Shalema as well, Judy Lacourte, Refuah Shalema, Norma Fogel, Refuah Shalema, Murray Lichtenstein, Refuah Shalema, Jose Liu, Refuah Shalema, Marilyn Drucker, Refuah Shalema, Gigi Palais, Refuah Shlema, Inez Pasher, Refuah Shlema, Susan Cohen, Refuah Shlema, Gary Ivan Rosen, Refuah Shlema, Eileen Carroll, Refuah Shlema, Barbara Osufsky, Refuah Shlema, Doreen Christopher, Refuah Shlema, Jeannie Tarrant, Refuah Shlema, Carol Reese, Refuah Shlema, and Otis Alvarez, Refuah Shlema. Any other names?
Lisa Saint,
Refuah Shlema,
Joel Costas,
Refuah Shlema,
Elizabeth
Refuah Shlema, sorry,
Elizabeth Dvorak,
Refuah Shlema. Okay. Else? Yeah.
Rhoda Silverman.
Yes, of course, Refuah Shlema. Okay. Let's read the top left-hand paragraph. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that should surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spread the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Aleinu, Sukkot Shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Aporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Yal Kol Amo Yisrael, Yal Yerushalayim. Yal kol haolam kulo. Amen. 34. Tishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat. Masot et Shabbat lidot hameritot Tishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat. Masot et Shabbat lidot hameritot. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti liolam, oti liolam, oti liolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabat. Masot et Hashabat lidot hameritot. Ishesh Yamim Asa Adonai, Asa Adonai, et Hashamayim, et Haaretz, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et Hashabat, Masot et Hashabat, lidot hameritot. Uvayom Hashvi, Shabbat Vainachash, Shabbat Vainachash, Shabbat Vainachash, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabat. Masot et Hashabat lidot hameritot. Please rise for the half Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. Yomadi brachirute, Yamlich malchute, B'chayim konu yom Uchayim kol Beit Yisrael. Bisman Kari, Bimeru Amen, Yeshua Bevolam, Leolam, Leolam, Yitborah, Vishtabah, Yitboar, Vitromam, Vitnase, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemei Lekudisha, Liela, Ben Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushpecha Tavidet Emota, Taviran Lialema, Bimeru, Amen. Yamidah, the standing silent prayer, 35b to 38. When you're done, you may be seated. All right, we'll continue. Page 47. There's a song left over from the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which is one of the things we think about as we reach this time of year. It's called O Tireh. You shall see in the years that come, there will be peace. And I stole a tune from that song and I plugged it into the top paragraph on 47. Vayichlu hashamai im ve'haaretz v'chol tzivaham Vayichal Elohim Hayom HaShevi Milachto Asher Asa Vayishpot Hayom HaShevi Nikom Milachto Asher Asa Vayivarech Elohim Vayivarech Elohim Vayivarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayikadesh Oto Yom Shabbat Hilachto Asher Bara Elohim Asher Bara Elohim Asher Bara Elohim Lasot Asher Bara Elohim Asher Bara Elohim Asher Bara Elohim Lasot. And the middle and bottom paragraphs, which are meant to be a summary of the Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Oel HaGadol Gibor v'Norah El Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz. And the bottom paragraph. Ogein Avot Bivaro Chayei Metim Emamaro Oel HaKadosh Shein Kamohu Ameniach Niyamo Yom Shabbat Kadsho Kivam Ratza V'Haniach Lahem Kivam Ratza V'Haniach Lahem V'Panav Navod V'Yirav V'Pachad V'Nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid Ve'ein Habrachot Ahut Ahut Tun Hashalom Ikadesh HaShabbat Umoreh Shevi Umeniach B'Kedusha Ve'amedu Shnei Onei Zeicher Lemaseh Erechi. O Kaddish 48. Yitkara v'ikra shemei Rabba Malei Yalmad yivrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'mechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Agalav v'zman kariv yimru Amen Yehi shmei Rabba v'orach v'yovlam le'omel Maria Yitkara Yitorach v'yishtabach Yipoar v'tromam v'naseh Yitadar v'taleh v'talal shmei kudisha b'refu Yelam in kaver chata v'shirata Tishpata v'nechmata d'minam v'yama Imru Amen Yitkabal sloton uvuton d'cho Yisrael Kedamavu on Yishmaya v'imru Amen Yehi shalom rabba min Shemaya V'chaim alein v'alko Yisrael v'imru Amen Who say shalom v'imru Amen say shalom aleinu v'alko Yisrael Amen Yaseh shalom Yaseh shalom Shalom aleinu v'alko Yisrael
Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisroel. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisroel. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisroel. V'Yakol Yoshvei Tevel. Imru Amen. All right, the Kiddush for Shabbat, page 49. Please rise. Savrimarnan Rabbanan Rabbatai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Borei pri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kiddushanu mitzvotav ratzavanu. V'shaman kodsho v'yavanu ratzavenu v'yadu. Zikaron ma'aseh v'reishit. Yihu yavteh v'nikra'ei kodesh. Sefer Yitzias Mitzrayim. Amen. I am Shalom. Simchas, page 51. Amichai, Helena, would you honor us by opening the ark? Page 51. Yes, be Kurt. Aratzot Samanu Kishpachot Adama Shelo Sam Elkenu Kahem Vigo Raleinu Kechol Hamonam Anachnu Korim Mishnachavim Umodim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shebunot HaShamayim Yosei Haaretz Umosha Vikaro Bashamayim Imal Ushchinatu Zo B'Gafei B'Romim Hu Eloheinu Einod Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato Hakatu B'Torato V'yadatayom Hashevota El Vanecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'Shamayim Yimal V'al Haaretz V'itachad Einod V'nemar V'haya Adonai Melech al kol haaretz V'yom hahu Yeh Adonai echad U'shemo echad. Okay, the curtains and the ark are closed, after which we'll do the mourner's Kaddish. Okay. Thank you very much. Shukor. Thank you, sir. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. Yalmad Yivrach, Yirutev, Yamliach Machutei, V'chayechon V'meichon, V'chayei T'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'ad Allah V'zman Karim Yivru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah V'vorach, V'yalam U'mei Hayah. Yitborach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Vitrumam, Vitnaseh, Yitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemei Kudesha, Barichu, Elam and Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechamata, Ta'amiran B'Yalma V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya, Chaim Aleinu V'Yal Kol Yisrael V'Yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mamav, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Yal Kol Yisrael, V'Yal Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'Yimru, Amen. And now, as the high holidays draw ever closer, we hear a few well-chosen words from our wonderful temple president.
First, my apologies to all of you for no wine and juice today. I totally blanked out. I'm really tired. All of those of you at home, a good Shabbos. All of the high holiday tickets went out yesterday. So the very big paper job of high holidays is almost over for the office. It is a monumental feat, and it's gone very, very well because of all of your support. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. This coming Saturday is going to be Slichot, our big celebration, our pre-high holiday celebration, the opening celebration for high holidays. Please come. If you haven't called in and let us know that you're coming, please do. We have a big crowd coming, and we are thrilled about it because it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And Rabbi is going to be dedicating our new Bima vestments for high holidays.
It's next Saturday,
Next Saturday,
not tomorrow.
not tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I thought I had it.
The 9th,
Yeah.
September 9th, yeah. So, today I could have gotten it wrong, you'll forgive me. But, thank God everything is going well. Our sanctuary will be filled on the high holidays. If anyone, I know everyone in this room has a ticket. If anyone at home hasn't booked a seat for the high holidays and you would like to, please do call in the office. This week, because of Labor Day, the office is closed on Monday, but we'll be in on Tuesday and on Thursday, and those always there to answer any of your questions and help you in any way we can. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Rita, and we, of course, are looking forward to the High Holy Days. I've got 3 sermons written, and, well, anyway, okay. On page 54 is the Adon Olam, and I also wanted to mention as far as Slichot, what I like about Slichot is that's really the entire Rosh Hashanah davening, and a piece of Yom Kippur also, in miniature. They managed, whoever put them together, managed to include some very significant prayers. The Avinu Malkeinu, things like that. So I hope you'll come. It's sort of Yom Kippur without the fasting, because we're having dinner first. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's finish up with the Beethoven's 9th. Adon Olam Hashem Olach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa V'Chefzo Kol Hazai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimlo Nora Hu Haya V'Hu Hoveh V'Hu Betifara, Hu Echad B'En Sheni, Lehamshilo Lehachbira, Li Reshit Li Tachli, Elo Ha'oz HaMisra,
Ueli, B'chai Goali, B'tzur Chevli, B'etzara, Unisi, Umanos Li, B'nat Kosi, B'omekra, B'ado Avki, Ruchi, B'etishan, B'aira, B'ruchi, B'viati, Adonai li Elohira. Please rise for the closing benediction. Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We say Amen and Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, apologize.